Hey everybody, my name is Jack Jump, and I'm here with my good friend Liam. And today,
Hey, what's up? I'm Liam. This is the YouTube channel that you watch. This is my YouTube channel.
yeah, technically I am a guest, but the way I've been carrying this channel, I would think that it's mine.
Well, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves here, but yeah, sure, whatever.
We're gonna start internet beef to try and get this channel going a little bit because we know that internet beef is the best way to grow.
And leave a comment if you think I should stop having Jack on the channel.
I don't do that. That would really hurt my do a number on my self-esteem. Anyway, we're back with episode number 3 of Two Blokes React to Music.
We're speed running music.
We're speed running music
As a whole. We're trying to get everything.
We will not stop until we've heard every song. Today, we're going to listen to, or we already did, we're going to rank and talk about Kendrick Lamar's discography, because I like him a whole lot, and I wanted to do it.
Yeah. So, well, you are the resident Kendrick Lamar fan, so let's talk about your history with Kendrick Lamar, how much of this discog. We're doing 5 albums, right?
It's only 5.
Just want to make sure. I was like, I hope I didn't miss any of
I also, when I was writing down, I was like, yeah, it's not as much. But yeah, there's only 5 like main releases that he had. He has a lot of like B-side albums and compilation albums that are really good, but we didn't listen to those. Like Untitled Unmastered is a really good compilation album with a bunch of B-sides from I think To Pimp a Butterfly that didn't make it on. Could be wrong about that, but yeah. So we're only doing the 5 main ones, starting with Section 80, going up to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. And yeah, I have been listening to Kendrick Lamar for a good little while here. I think the first song I heard was one of the ones off of Good Kid, Mad City. There was a whole lot that were really popular. I kind of forgot how many popular ones there were off that album.
Not popular songs.
Yeah, like Swimming Pools probably was the first one I heard. Or Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, that was another good one.
Oh, whoa.
Hey, this is Kendrick Lamar. Okay? He has explicit content. We're going to talk about explicit content.
All right, fine. Whatever, man. If we're gonna say words, I mean.
Sorry, okay, I'll censor myself from here on out. But yeah, and I was like, I like this guy. He does a good job. And then once I kind of realized that like concept albums were a thing, and that people can tell like an overarching story throughout an album, I was like, oh hell yeah! Now the gates are open. So yeah, I'm a big fan. He going into this was probably already my favorite rapper I've ever heard. I'm a white boy. What can I say? White boys like Kendrick Lamar, but
yeah.
yeah, white boy. And we're gonna. This video is gonna be very stereotypical. I think it's. I'll say that right now. But
I don't know, Jack. Do you think I'm gonna like Kendrick Lamar?
I don't know. I don't really. I mean, I know the only rap that I know that you like is like 90s rap. Like I know you like Wu-Tang a lot, which
I do like the Wu-Tang Clan a lot.
Which he's got some songs that are like that, but it's definitely more. I think. I don't even want to say it's of his time. I think as much as it's just kind of his own style. I mean, not to say that he's like the only person, like he, that raps like he does. That was cool. So I like that a lot. But yeah, I don't really think it's. I don't know. I would say, as a fan of like story writing and storytelling, I would say yeah, I think you will like him. But I don't think he's going to be like your favorite musician of all time. I don't think you're going to like him as much as I do. I'll say that right now.
Maybe I'll like him more.
Maybe you will. I don't know.
So, yeah. No, I'm not a complete noob. I mean, I do.
It's hard to be a complete noob.
I do like hip hop music. Especially when I was like 19. Yeah. I mean, I got into a lot of like real classic stuff, and it was all I listened to. And I think, to an extent, like seriously, all I listened to was hip hop for like a year. So I think that made me not come back to it as much, just because when you like really, I find for me, when I really get into something like hard like that, I oftentimes will come out of it after a while. But I mean, I like hip hop a lot. I'm definitely pickier with it than I am like other stuff, I would say. Like there's definitely styles I like and styles I don't like, and like yeah, I mean, I knew a lot. I actually never listened to a Kendrick album all the way through, which is kind of surprising, given that like he like dominates all like the Rate Your Music, Rolling Stone, all those like music publications, like it's always like, oh, there's at least like 3 of his albums that are always at the top. And never really liked conscious hip hop that much. I always thought it was just wasn't what I wanted out of hip hop, and he definitely, I would say, falls into that category a lot of the times. And I was a little nervous going into this because like I said, I am a hip hop fan, but I haven't been like discovering a lot of new hip hop lately, and all the albums are like super like involved. Like it's not they're not, well, I don't know if I would say they're not easy listens, but they're like involved.
You gotta like
know
what's going on.
Yeah. So that's all I got to say, Jack. Why don't you start him off?
All right.
You're the fan. Okay.
So yeah, with my first, or I guess last place album, and you'll see immediately how much of a fan I am of Kendrick Lamar, because in last place with a score of 7 out of 10, which is a good score for a last place album.
Damn.
Is Section 80, his first album. I think that the reason that I gave this last place was because I think that this was the album that had the only songs that I heard that I didn't really like that much. Again, like I think his discography is pretty fantastic, but there are some songs on here like the song "No Makeup" that has a feature from this like emo singer. I didn't really look into him that much.
His name was like Astrobot.
Yeah, some like I was like, okay, this is not fit at all for what Kendrick Lamar I think is trying to do on that album. And also I'm pretty confident that there really wasn't like an overarching story on that album, which I'm a fan of, like having at least an overall like theme or overall like story that the album follows, which every other album did. This had some of that, like I believe there was a story of like a lesbian sister or something like that. I don't fully remember too well. It's been kind of a minute since I like listened to that one. It's been like a week now, but yeah, I still think that it's a really really good song. The song ADHD was my favorite off of that album, and I will also say this: there's one album of all the albums that I did not have at least one song that was a 10 out of 10. And
there's not one album you don't have as
there's not one album that does not have at least one song that's a 10 out of 10 except for one.
Okay.
Which I'll get to. But yeah, the ADHD was the 10 out of 10 I had on Section 80. I think that essentially overall with this album you can kind of hear that what he's trying to do and where he's trying to go, but I just don't know if maybe he didn't have the record label support yet, because there are some features here that are just so out of place, and like there's 2 that have like you said, like the Astrobot or whatever singer, and I'm just like, man, this does not fit at all on a Kendrick Lamar album, but still I think it's really 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 good. I think that it's kind of a masterclass of storytelling, which Kendrick Lamar would get knock it out of this park. He's, I think, the best storyteller of our generation, maybe like a top 3-4 lyricist of all time. Like I think he is so good. Again, I'm very stereotypical white boy. I'm going to be glazing the shit out of Kendrick Lamar in this video. I'm just going to preface that right now. But yeah, Section 80 just didn't fully do it for me as much as the other albums did. It's still a really good album. It's a really, really good first album, debut. But yeah, that's I put Section 80 at number 5, last place, 7 out of 10.
All right, well, I mean, that's a higher score than my last one. And my number 5 is going to be Damn, which I got out of 5 out of 10. So I think it's alright. I mean, like, there is kind of a concept here, I feel like, and I think it's a cool one. I think it's kind of like him dealing with, after having all this huge success, the remnants of that, and he's kind of talking about like kind of seems like apocalyptic stuff to an extent, and there's some really good songs on here. Like DNA is like real. He's just going in on that one, and that's a great. I mean, it's not the opener, but it kind of is. And Humble.
Classic.
That's a
I
great
think
one.
that's the most famous song.
Yeah, I would imagine it is. And
According to Spotify, at least.
You know, that's got a really good beat, and it's a great delivery from him, and lyrically, it's kind of him bragging about being humble, which is kind of like an oxymoron, which is cool. But the problem I have with it is, like, a lot of the things from rap of that era that I don't like is on this album, and it works in some spots, and in other spots, it's just kind of like boring, honestly. Like, I'm not very excited by this album. A lot of it, Element is cool. I will say, like, towards the end, it does get. I think it picks up, starting with XXX, which has U2, and then U2 in this era were the kings of just being everywhere you did not want them. I mean, they did that one album from a few years before this, which just appeared on your iTunes, and then
Whether
this
you want
one,
it or not, yeah.
Yeah, then they're on a Kendrick Lamar album. It's like, but honestly, their feature was pretty nice. Like, I didn't know what to expect, but I thought, okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a cool song. You know, Fear, Pride, God, those are all cool. Duckworth is obviously really cool, and I'm not going to go into it too much because I know Jackson have a lot to say about that one.
You're damn right I will.
That's a crazy story,
Yeah.
and you're like, wow. Yeah, the Rihanna feature is cool. I mean, I like Rihanna a good bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just you know, it does. The album has amazing music videos though. Like, the music videos of those songs are crazy, but I know people are like, oh, that he sold out. I don't buy that. I get why he did that style, because I think I was reading he was trying to reach a bigger audience, and it worked, I guess.
Yeah,
he was already pretty big before this. He was a critic's darling, but this like put him into the stratosphere.
Right.
So I get it, but it's just not for me. Like, I really wish I liked him more, but maybe with time I will, if I ever revisit these, which I think I probably will, because, spoiler, I like Kendrick Lamar a good amount, so, you know. I mean, I always have liked Kendrick Lamar, I just didn't know his albums all the way
Right.
through. So
right.
that's my number 5.
All right. So my number 4, with a 7.5 out of 10, is Damn. So
All right.
we're going to continue.
I'm glad I'm
speaking
not
about
crazy. I
Yeah.
feel like that was a controversial one, but I guess
We're
not.
going to continue speaking about it. Well, here's the thing: is it's not a bad album, I don't think, but I mean, you got to deal with. We'll get to the other albums, but you got to deal with his other albums. You know. Yeah. So some are just have to fall in the rankings just based off how they do it. But anyway, yeah, I think Damn, like you said, it was very much more of a basic sounding album than like To Pimp a Butterfly, which was his previous one before this, and I totally get why he did it, because, I mean, like you said, if you look at the songs, the individual songs off To Pimp a Butterfly, none of them are all that famous. Like, All Right is super famous, obviously.
Yeah, that's by far the most popular.
Yeah, but the other ones, there really isn't like another like hit really off that album. I mean, like I kind of was a hit, Black with the Berry maybe, but
Black with the there's no way that was a radio hit though.
Well, I mean, yeah, but
yeah.
But so I understand. Obviously, To Pimp a Butterfly was hugely popular. I'm not trying to say it wasn't popular. It obviously was, but I think in the rap game, it's all about like it's about singles way more than full albums. And so I think, like you said, he was trying to reach a bigger audience. So he had way more like, you know, basic trap sounding beats on Humble, which is a good song. I liked Humble a lot. I liked DNA, but I think when this album really shines is when he does like the slower again, I'm a fan of like slow, like floaty type music. Like 1989 was my favorite Taylor Swift album because it was.
No, it wasn't.
No, sorry, Midnight's
Bastard.
in 1989. Sorry, they're both up there because they're both like floaty and chill music. And so on this album, you have songs like Pride and Love, and you know that are very very chill and very like, man, this is just putting this on in the background and just relaxing, and that's what I like. And of course, it closes out with Duckworth, which is my favorite Kendrick Lamar song. Stamp it.
Damn, that's crazy.
Put it down. It's my favorite one because it has kind of like two beats in it. Like it switches up in the middle.
It does.
And both beats are freaking fire. I think they are so good. And also, if anybody who knows me knows that I will not shut up about that story because I think that the story of that song is absolutely amazing.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's so crazy. That's insane. That is a crazy thing. That's so crazy.
So, yeah, it's about, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's about Top Dog, who I believe in the early days was like his record label executive, like I think a smaller label, like local to Compton.
Yeah.
And he almost killed Kendrick's dad at a KFC, and I think it was kind of Kendrick, talking about like, oh my god, what if that happened? That's kind of a dumbed down version of it. But,
essentially.
Yeah.
But that's
is wild.
Crazy. Yeah, it's insane. That's like, when I heard
was
that,
like,
I was like,
dude, he almost killed your dad. Are you sure? Like, I'd love to know like how that all went down, like how he found out about that. I mean,
yeah. And I also like how if you listen to the ending of that song, like the last line is, "While I grew up without a father and died in a gunshot," and then it reverses all to the beginning of the album.
And I know he did the expanded it. I know you can play the album backwards and just like the same. It's like opposite, which is cool. Like
That's cool.
I think
I like
all
that.
his ideas are really good. This sound is just not what I'm gonna gravitate towards. Even though like of all like the hip hop albums with that sound, this one would like be in the upper echelon. Like I'm not denying it's an amazing job, but I'm basing this off like I think we both are like our own personal enjoyment.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is I think well I'll get to that later. But what I will say is my number 2 and my number 1 would be flipped if this was a best album versus my favorite. But they're both still really good.
I wonder if we're gonna have the same number 1. But
I don't know. We'll see.
do you want to predict what my favorite Kendrick song is?
Favorite Kendrick song?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know. I think How Much a Dollar Costs would be your favorite.
Okay. Interesting. So
I was gonna say, do you want to predict, but
yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 4, 7.5 out of 10. Still a very good album, but I think it's kind of a little bit all over the place. And if it stuck to that like dreamy, floaty type of thing, I probably would have liked it a little more. But yeah,
fair.
That's my number 4.
My number 4 is the latest, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, and this was like the long-awaited follow-up to Damn, and I think it outdoes Damn. I mean, I got it at a 6 out of 10, so I think it's above average, it's solid. And this one, he's really going in depth about. It's another like concept, and it's really about himself and dealing with his life, and it starts with what is it called? United in Grief. And it's a pretty wild opener. I mean, he says, I've been going through stuff, basically, he says, and it goes into like the craziest, like weirdest beat, and it almost sounds like a Radiohead song with rapping over it, kind of.
Yeah.
And then N95, I think is probably the most popular one, right?
I don't know if that's true. It might be. I only heard like 2 or 3 before going to Mr. Morale, and N95 was one of them. But the other one I heard a lot was We Cry Together.
So you've never heard every single one of these albums all the way through?
No, I've heard all of them except for Mr. Morale.
Okay. So, yeah, and that's like starts being real upbeat. But N95, just like looking into this album, is like the name of the most powerful COVID mask. So I think it's like a metaphor for like him.
They talk about COVID. I think they talk about COVID in the song.
And the whole album is really like downbeat, and it's really. I don't want to say it's like a depressing listen because I don't think it is because I think he does a good job with switching up the vibe, and a lot of what he talks about I think too, like especially like men's mental health is like it's important, and I think it's cool for someone like him to be talking about that stuff. But my issue with it is like I think it probably has the most songs at any of his albums, and I think I just don't think they're all like that memorable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and honestly, the ones that stick out for me the most are the ones where he's got the really odd beats and he's got the more reflective monotone rapping. Like, Worldwide Steppers is one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Anti-Diaries is a really good one.
That's
really
another
good one.
That is a really good one, yeah.
Yeah, that's another like interesting story. But then him acknowledging, what is something that always interested me that happened is when he brought up the one girl to sing and she said the N-word, but it was in one of his songs. So that always was something that made me think like that was a very interesting scenario, and like how do you handle that from both ends? Like, is there really somebody in the wrong or in the right? So I don't really know what his opinion on that was by the end of the song, but I know it was interesting to hear him acknowledge that.
Yeah.
Purple Hearts is cool. That's got Ghostface Killah on it, who does an excellent verse. Mother I Sober, that's another cool one. Like, I really like when he does that thing on this album. We Cry Together, that is like painful. I like it, but that is like hard to listen to.
Yeah,
like,
that was rough.
Maybe not to that extent, but I think that's like, it's a relatable song.
That's what I said for that one, not to step in, but I said we either all have been there or know somebody who has been there.
Yeah, so like, that's a crazy one to listen to, and but yeah, I mean, I'm just docking because I don't think, I will say this is thematically maybe his most like important, and I think it's the only one where like I immediately get the theme of it. But just there's so much filler, dude. Like, I think there's so much that could have been cut, and I kind of wish I had more time with these albums because I really think that all 5 of them you really need to listen to a few times. And I won't lie, like a lot of my scores went up the more I listened to it, the more I read into it. But I mean, that's pretty much. I mean, I know you're gonna have a lot to say about this one too. So 6 out of 10, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers.
Cool. All right, so my number 3 with an 8 out of 10. Again, following you, I got Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. This was the only one I had not heard all the way through going in, and honestly, I do see where you're coming from. Where there is a lot of songs, a lot of content here, but I think that he utilized it all pretty well. I think that the theme of men's mental health and also just dealing with being one of the most famous people really alive is a super interesting, and it's sad, but it's interesting topic. He talks about going to therapy a lot in this album, and I also I believe it's the last song other than the Heart Part 5, which is like a single, so that's not really a part of the album as much. But the last one is called Mirror.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And he says on that album, he goes, I'm choosing myself, I'm choosing my family. And I was thinking yeah, I would too. You did, at this point, if Kendrick were to retire right now and never make another song ever again, which I don't think he's going to do, but if he were to, he would go down as one of the greatest rappers ever. He would be rich, he wouldn't be able to spend all his money if he wanted to for the rest of his life, and he's got 2 young kids. And he's saying I don't owe anybody else anything. And I think as somebody of that stature, I mean, obviously I'm not in Kendrick Lamar's shoes, or even anywhere near his shoes, but I'm sure if someone were to be in that place, they would think that they owe the fans a lot, because at the end of the day, that's how we put Kendrick Lamar in that spot by listening to his music. But no, you don't know anybody anything. He's done everything. It's that you can really ask, and he was super successful. So I think he's kind of saying throughout this album, it's kind of like saying, listen, man, I did what I needed to do. I was successful at it beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm not guilty, which I think is a really, really good message. And again, I think, yeah, there might be some filler songs here or there, but I think overall it's all pretty good. There are some songs that are like brutal, like you said, together, or We Cry Together. That song was like rough to listen to. Auntie Diaries was a really, really good song, and what I think, what I like that he commented on a lot is he was like, yeah, obviously, I mean, I don't think he's trying to say that like maybe white people should be able to say the N-word if it's in a song he wrote, but what he is saying, I think, is he's, he's yelling at a white girl getting up to a show, saying the N-word, but he, as a straight man, is throwing out the F slur, like it's nobody's business, and he's like, what are we doing? Where that's like majorly hypocritical, and I think it's a really, really good look at that, which I have always thought, like, that's like an interesting thing.
Yeah.
But I think that was a really, really interesting, take. The features on this album are all for the most part pretty good. The interludes on this album are really, the instrumentation on this album actually was really good. Like the piano, I don't know if they're samples or if they brought somebody in to play the piano on, I forget which song specifically, but there was a couple songs that I was just like, oh my god, this is ridiculous. Yeah, the strings were all really good. The strings like this, I think the production on this album was really, really good throughout. I think the production on pretty much all of his albums were pretty good.
That solid production.
Yeah, really. Yeah, but this one specifically, I remember being like, damn, okay, this is pretty good.
And this album, not to cut you off,
no,
but like, this one has just got so much. It's almost like overwhelming amount of depth to it. Like, like the tap dancing in the songs like signifies something.
Oh,
like, also, like the Kodak Black feature was like a big controversy, and because I didn't know this, but he had gotten in trouble for stuff a good bit prior to this, and he had featured it on it. And I think people were signifying like, oh, this is an example of someone that can have redemption. And I know that a lot of people. I'm not going to comment on that, but it was a really bizarre move on his part, if that's the case. But this one is just, this has a lot of depth to it.
Yeah, it does. But I think that I really appreciate when, like for example, what we're doing, the Taylor Swift video and the Eagles video, we talked basically mainly about like the music, versus now we're talking about the music a lot, obviously, but we're also talking about the meanings behind the songs and the stories that they mean, and
oh yeah, definitely.
It's just like I appreciate that so much.
If we were just going off the music, these would all be like 10 stars. Or just going off storytelling, they'd all be like 10 stars. Like,
Again, I think he's one of the best storytellers, certainly of our generation. But I told my one friend, my one coworker one time, why I was like, I think Kendrick Lamar is the best rapper because he can make a privileged white boy from Harford County feel like a poor kid from the Compton, from the ghetto of Compton.
Yeah, I mean, I am definitely like probably came at it from like a different perspective. Like, I was more like, I mean, I definitely had like it definitely empathy towards like the situations, but like it wasn't like. I didn't necessarily like feel that way per se, but I think just because you're a bigger Kendrick fan than me.
I'm a big Kendrick fan, but also like I don't know. I think it's also like the music obviously is insane. Like I think the music is very, very good for most of it. It's not just like, oh, I'm a big fan of the storytelling. I think it's also like if he had crappy music and crappy beats, I'd be like, maybe just be a songwriter,
Yeah.
But I think that he does a good job. I think also like almost underrated part of his entire career is his rapping ability. I think his rapping ability is really, really good, and not a lot of people necessarily talk about that.
Yeah, that's
Like-
a fair assessment.
Like going into certainly some of his other albums, he like will change his inflection based off of like where like his age in the song or like who's talking. Like it's well, I'll get into that later, but so just rambling on this point. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is my number 3.
And you said
8
8
out
out
of
of
10.
10?
Yeah.
Alright, so you're not going completely crazy. I mean,
Not yet. We'll get
you're
there.
number. What's that? You're number 3.
My number 3, yeah.
So that's 8 out of 10.
We'll get there.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
For me, like that means like it's
It's a good album.
very very good.
Good
I
album.
think in my notes I write 8, very good.
Yeah.
But all right, so I'm on my number 3,
Yeah.
and all right, don't worry guys, I'm not completely insane. I got Section 80 at number 3, and my favorite part about this is that it is by far his least pretentious album.
Yeah, that's a
And
good
it's
point.
by
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's a failed concept album because if I didn't read the wiki, I'd have no idea that it was supposed to be about these two. I still don't really quite know what it's about. And then also, like,
Yeah.
part of it was about his sister, who apparently, like, had, like, some issues and I think may have passed away. Like, dude, his albums can be, like, exhausting to try and figure out. Like,
Yeah.
but I just love the nostalgic kind of, like, early 2010s hip-hop feel about it. Like, I just like that sound a lot. And it's, like, pre-trap. Like, it kind of sounds like a J. Cole album. I won't lie. And for some reason J. Cole is very polarizing in the hip hop community. Like, you either love him or you fucking hate him. But I like him.
They're beefing right now. You know that?
I think I did see that, but I didn't get into too much of the beef. But
It started like as we were listening to this. I think
do you think that's why?
probably.
Yeah.
It's probably us.
Damn, now I just feel bad. But speaking of J. Cole, he produced the last song in the album.
Did he
High Power.
really?
He produced it. Yeah.
Oh, I knew that. Never mind.
And I just like the beat style a lot. I think it is his debut, but he had some EPs beforehand, and I think he comes out like pretty much. He fully realizes like who he is as an artist. I think his like actual vocals, like his voice, hadn't developed to be like real powerful and real dynamic like he had been. I'm With You, ADHD is a great song. F Your Ethnicity is a good one. That's cool. And that guy Astrobot, I don't really hear the problem with him. Like, I thought it was cool.
I didn't think it was like bad, but I was just like, this has no sense being on.
And then there's that other guy, like Ab Soul, I think his name was. I'm messing these guys' names up, I know, and I've read their names like 1,000 times. He has some good extra rapping. Like, my second time listening to this, I was like, all right, this is very samey. But then, at the end, it starts to pick up, and I start to like it a lot at the end. Keisha's song is really cool. I just think it's a solid album. It's a 7 out of 10 for me. So I think it's a good album. And I mean, I would like to revisit this one some more. I think that jazzy drum solo, rap thing, the Absol outro is really cool. Like, you really hear that Kendrick is not just a hip hop fan. He appreciates jazz a lot, which I think on another album you can really see more. Rigor Mortis is my favorite on this one. I thought that was cool. But it's a flawed as a concept album, but I think it's like a listen. Like, I know you had kind of talked about this. Like, if you threw this on in the background, this would be like, this is perfect for like playing GTA 5 or something.
Yeah.
And you know it. So yeah, that's what I got.
He's number 3. I also forgot to mention on my number 3, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers was the only album that I did not have a song that was a 10 out of 10. There's a couple songs that were really close and quite squeaked by. But my number 2 album, and I will say this right now, my number 2 and my number 1 album are both 10 out of 10s. I think, but one just squeaked by. In my personal favorite. Again, if this is like a best album, they would be flipped. But my number 2 album is To Pimp a Butterfly. I think that this is like one of the best concept albums I've ever heard. I might put it at number 2 on my concept albums list all time, behind The Wall by Pink Floyd. But I think that this is like such like prime example of an overarching story throughout an album, starting with obviously Wesley's Theory, which is. And another thing I want to say before I forget, this album is funny. I feel like that like not a lot of people talk about. This is a funny album. Wesley's Theory is a funny song. For Free, that's a funny song too. Has like a jazz beat in the background that he's rapping over. There's a lot of humor on this album. There's obviously a lot of like really depressing stuff too, but it's just such a good overarching story of being like feeling guilt of making it out of the ghetto and feeling guilty about that, but then eventually saying, okay, sorry, house bass is making noises, but saying that it's okay, that your success doesn't make you a bad person. There are a few songs that I gave 10 out of 10s to individually. These Walls, Alright, How Much a Dollar Costs, and The Black of the Berry. Getting Drunk, that he left back in the ghetto. And then something that I really liked that he decided to do is he included a live version of the song I, which was the soul.
Was that live?
Well, it was. It probably wasn't live, but it sounded live. It was supposed to be like live. And that was the single from this album. And the single, if you listen to the single version, it's like a studio, version. And then that freestyle at the end that he does is so like one of my favorite freestyles ever. I think it's such a good freestyle. But yeah, obviously the poem that he tells throughout the album at the end of each song, and then it turns out that he's telling the poem to freaking Tupac. And
that was
that
took me a second to figure out.
That was so over the top, but like on any other album, like it would have been stupid, but on this album I was like, oh, it's perfect. But yeah, I again, just the storytelling that he does. This is a masterclass in storytelling. The production on this album is so good. The lyrics on this album, and what I was going to get more into on earlier in the video, but now I'll get more into it now, is his rapping ability. On songs like You, he gets in a really like high, raspy, like almost like pathetic sounding voice. Someone that is getting drunk, that he left back in the ghetto. And then something that I really liked that he decided to do is he included a live version of the song I, which was the soul.
Was that live?
Well, it was. It probably wasn't live, but it sounded live. It was supposed to be like live. And that was the single from this album. And the single, if you listen to the single version, it's like a studio, version. And then that freestyle at the end that he does is so like one of my favorite freestyles ever. I think it's such a good freestyle. But yeah, obviously the poem that he tells throughout the album at the end of each song, and then it turns out that he's telling the poem to freaking Tupac. And
that was
that
took me a second to figure out.
That was so over the top, but like on any other album, like it would have been stupid, but on this album I was like, oh, it's perfect. But yeah, I think that this is, I mean, a lot of people have it as like the best album.
Who thinks rap is bad? I don't think that's gonna change your mind, but maybe unless you're really open-minded.
Oh yeah, that's true.
That's true. But yeah, if you're a boomer who thinks that rap isn't music, that's the worst opinion ever.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, and what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so my number 2 is To Pimp a Butterfly. That's my number 2.
Wow.
So I think that I gotta add. I was really between 2 scores, so I'm gonna give it. I usually don't do this, but I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10.
Wow, you don't do half scores usually.
Yeah, but I was like, is it an 8 or a 9? I don't know, man. And yeah, it's amazing. It starts off with a bang with Wesley's Theory. It has his best production. It also features the most instrumentation, I say, of any album. I think where it really hits me is like being someone who's really into like funk and R&B from like the 70s. Like it totally pays homage to that in spots. You know, George Clinton is on the first track, and he's a legend. Dr. Dre is on the first track, who apparently is the executive producer on this album, which I did not know. So, I mean, I knew he was on Good Kid, but I didn't know that carried on with that. So, I think this album totally, like, is, you know, why I think I have a problem with Damn is, like, you're capable of this much, like,
Yeah.
and not that you always have to, like, do everything you have in your tool bag, but, I mean, the beats are amazing. These Walls is awesome, you're right. Institutionalized is pretty good. King
Yeah.
Kunta, that's the first song I ever
Classic.
noticed by Kendrick. I was like, yeah, I've always loved that song.
King Kunta is a really good song.
Yeah. What else you got? I mean, yeah, for free. You know, my problem with rap albums, or I don't really like interludes, and I don't like how long they always are. But that, I mean, his interludes are not really even interludes. They're basically songs.
Yeah.
You know, You Is Cool. That Isley Brothers sample is so good. And you're right, I do think this album ends strongly with, you know, the conversation between Tupac, who, like, is maybe the most beloved rapper of all time.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And, you know, I like Tupac a lot, too. Like I said, you know, I do like a lot of the classic hip-hop stuff. So I think I you know, watched a video on, like, people explaining why this is the best album ever made. And I 100% do not see that. And I'll explain why. It's because, like, after You and up until I think I don't think like the middle to the end of this album is all that memorable. Like, The Blacker the Berry is like, yeah, that one is super venomous and it's like important. And then like all the stuff like How Much Does a Dollar Cost? Like it's all good, but like I don't think a lot of it is super memorable upon like your first couple listens. So, like I said, like I definitely want to revisit some of this stuff. But yeah, I mean, this is a really solid album. It's a very good album. It's approaching, you know, I wouldn't argue saying it's great for me. I don't know if it is though. Like I said, I like it a good bit. You know, for 2015, like yeah, it'd probably be one of my top albums. Like no
1989 beat it. The Grammys.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I definitely like this a little more than that one. But like, that's my problem. And my other problem is like, the concept. I would not have known what the concept is about if I didn't read about it. So like.
Yeah, that's true.
And the
I also had to
concept
read about it.
benefits it, but I wouldn't know it had a concept unless I read it.
Yeah.
So had I not done that, I would have definitely bumped it down. So I mean I don't think it's like overrated per se, but I think people do overrate it a bit. And I thought for sure this was gonna be Jack's, with like an 11 out of 10. But evidently Jack and I have the same number one, which
we
is
do the
awesome.
same number one.
Did you think that we would have this?
I knew that our top two was going to be the same.
Yeah, I knew that.
I didn't know. Yeah, I'll say it. Number one, 10 out of 10. That's right. I told you I was going to glaze Kendrick Lamar, give him 2 10 out of 10s. Good Kid, Mad City. This is my favorite. I honestly, going into this, thought that this was going to be my number 2, and Tim Pimpa Butterfly was going to be my number 1. But going in, I don't know if this is going to sound kind of crazy, but I don't know if I've had as good of a time listening to an album than when I just listened to it this time. Because I was like, I literally had to text Joe. I texted our friend Joey. Because I was like, I forgot how
I'll
many...
leave a link to Joey in the comments.
I forgot how many good songs were on this album. Like when Money Trees came on, I was like, oh my god, such a... Alright, let me see which songs I gave it a 10 out of 10 on this album too. Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst, Good Kid, Money Trees, and B Word, Don't Kill My Vibe. Those were the 10 out of 10s. And I also think that Similar to Pimp a Butterfly, how the ending of each song had a snippet of a poem. The ending of not every song on Good Kid, Mad City, but some songs had voicemails,
Yeah.
and like those voicemails always led into the next song, um, and I was like, that is really cool. I think that's awesome. I think, like I said, there's some bangers on this that you can just scream with your friends, like Mad City. What else? I just said it. Hold on, sorry. Let me get my notes down here again. Money Trees, obviously. Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe. Sorry, but that you can just scream with your friends. There's some like floaty songs that are like that just make you feel good, make you feel like you're just relaxing. There's some really depressing songs. Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst.
Another dual beat song.
Another dual beat song, which again, both beats are like. Well, I think as opposed to Duckworth, it's almost like two songs versus like two beats. But both those songs are like beautiful. There was some similar to on Mr. Morale, how like the Hard Part 5 was kind of like a single. There was a single on this album that had I think Dr. Dre on it. Compton, yeah, and that was a really good one too. But to your point, how I agree with you. To Pimp a Butterfly, the story is much harder to follow. Like the concept is kind of hard to follow. This one's super easy. It tells it right in the album. Good Kid, Mad City. I think that it is a very, very good story that is super intellectual, but also dumb enough that you can understand it without having to like look it up.
Yeah.
And literally, there's a song called Good Kid. There's a song called Mad City right after it that perfectly tells everything that you need to know. It's Kendrick Lamar, who was kind of a nerd. He wasn't really into drugs. Wasn't super into like.
Which, by the way, guy was a fucking loser. He wasn't into fucking drugs or partying, bro.
He is a nerd loser.
It's just shocking he got famous.
Yeah, but if you're in Compton, it's not gonna look too well for you. As someone from Harford County, I would know how the streets of Compton work.
Yeah.
But I think that this is such a good album. I think that for me personally, if I had one Kendrick Lamar album to choose, that's why I ultimately chose Good Kid, Mad City over To Pimp a Butterfly. I think that it was a bit of an easier listen for me. It was again just fun. Like I was like, God, what a good album when this ended. So yeah, 10 out of 10. This is one of my favorite albums of all time. Let's see what Leon has to say about it.
I got Good Kid, Mad City at number 1, and I got it at a 10 out of 10, baby.
Boom,
it's
baby.
a 10 out of 10.
Boom, baby.
Obviously, I knew some of this stuff before, but yeah, dude, this is probably one of my favorite hip hop albums of all time. Like, and god damn, dude, it's another in the lineage of Dr. Dre just being a great producer. But I think one of Dr. Dre's weaknesses is sometimes he puts a little too much of his own stamp on people, but he doesn't do that here at all. He's not even really making the beats. But yeah, dude, this album just smokes all the way through, man. And you're right. The story is, in my opinion, better on this because, like, it's real. Like, I feel like I can relate to it. And yeah, sure, like, obviously, like, I didn't grow up in Compton and have, like, some of those hardships that we dealt with. But it's like a coming of age story in my eyes to an extent. And the voicemails are great. They're much better than the poems. Like, it's a great blend of harder, like, trap beats with, like, more, like, Fender Rhodes, jazzy hip-hop beats. The perfect blend of that. And dude, there's, like, a streak of songs from, like, Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, Backseat Freestyle, which
Backseat Freestyle is
such a good song.
Such a good song, yeah.
Art of Peer Pressure, which I think is awesome. I love, like, the Me and My Homies refrain. And Money Trees, which is by far my favorite Kendrick Lamar song. It's got a Beach House sample, which not a lot of people know, which are one of my favorite indie rock bands, and they just
that song is
a clever
great.
use of a sample, and it's got one of my favorite lyrics, maybe ever, with the one that's in front of The Gun Lives Forever. That's just that's great. And singing about money can be a little cliche, but it's just he just does it great there. And obviously there's a lot of other stuff like it's definitely front loaded, but like it doesn't bother me because like every song is good. Like it's a 10 out of 10. Like I will 100% revisit this multiple times throughout my life. And by the way, like I said, I never heard this one before. It's so good. It's one of the best hip hop albums ever made. And then Compton, well, let me talk about Mad City first. I did know that. I knew a lot of these songs.
I forgot how many popular songs there were on it.
I never really paid attention to that song, though. That is just genius, that song. The beat switch is so clever. And shout out to MC8. Don't know what else you've done, but great job on that one. And then, like, the victory lap at the end, Compton, which I kind of view as, like, a celebration of, like, the Compton music scene that...
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I love Compton. If you know me, one of my like most influential albums of my life was NWA Straight Outta Compton. That really like, I've always been a fan of rap music since I was a kid. Like even like, the Beastie Boys when I was younger. I went through a phase of listening to them when I was in like middle school or high school. I guess probably middle school actually, but it's just such a great like ending song for an album. It's like the story ends on Real, which is a great song, and then that last one is like a victory, and the story is so good. Like that could be, it wouldn't be like a 10 out of 10 movie, but it'd be like a fun like little like movie like you watch as a teenager.
Yeah.
That like is probably like gonna stay on Netflix forever.
Yeah.
So like, but my point like with the concept albums, people always try to like just like blow them out of the water. Like The Wall, the crazy concept. To Pimp a Butterfly, like all like dealing with racism and like the pains of being famous. They're all like, a lot of them can be like really like, I don't know if pretentious is the right word, but like really like
over the top
and like really like almost paint the artist as like a hero of sort. And this is not that. This is like him being genuine. And by the way, this is like a huge step up from Section 80, which I thought was pretty solid. Mm-hmm. But this one's much better. So it's 10 out of 10. I didn't think I was going to get to a 10 out of 10 from him, but the second time I listened to this, I was like, oh my god, this has got to be my number one. I thought To Pimp a Butterfly would have been my number one, but I just like the pure like hip hop bliss.
It's just Good Kid, Mad City gets you in, gets you out.
Yeah, that's the thing. It gets you in, it gets you out, and that's.
And it's still a great. It's like God. It almost takes you a little bit, I think, to realize like, whoa, this is a great album.
And it's also funny because like, this is very acclaimed, but like, To Pimp a Butterfly and
way more
gets all the love and to an extent, Damn does and like I know this one's still like very like top albums of all time. Good Kid is always on there, but Damn, this is so good. So
Liam,
I'm glad we did Kendrick because I was dreading it at first because like I said, I haven't been listening to a lot of hip hop and I know that everything's very conceptual and long. But I mean, he's one of the best at what he does. He is the best at what he does. He's kind of got no peers. He kind of does his own thing. But
that's essentially what the beef is about. It's because on a song he said there was a song that Drake said like, oh, me, J. Cole, and Kendrick are the big three, and then Kendrick's like, no, I'm not. No, it's just me.
Yeah, he does seem a little into himself, but I don't know a lot.
Honestly, I think he's earned it.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know about Drake.
I'm a Kendrick stan.
I like J. Cole.
It was.
I don't know who I like more.
It was Kendrick and J. Cole for a while for me, and then Kendrick.
I don't know if I'd put Drake in the top 3.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about fame,
he was on there.
He was. Drake was.
Poetic
Drake.
Justice.
That's a good song too. But yeah, I think Kendrick Lamar. Obviously, like I said, I was gonna glaze him, and I did. But I think he's one of the best.
Yeah, we'll have to get around
ever.
to a Liam glazing artist one of these days, but we will. But
all right.
I mean, our next one we're doing is we decided is Led Zeppelin, so we're both gonna be glazing. We'll be
glazing the boys.
Yeah, we'll be glazing those.
As Jack Black once said, Led Zeppelin more like the Four Losers. Am I right?
Yeah.
Oh, I know it's always Eric Andre.
Yeah,
and Jack Black couldn't agree with it.
Yeah, I can't agree with that either. So we're talking about them next week or whenever.
Whenever we get around to it.
Yeah. And Jack, you got anything you want to plug?
No, not really. going to Glacier, Montana this summer, so
Yeah, if you're there,
That's
check
my
him
plug.
out. I got a solo acoustic show coming up April 13th in Newark, Delaware at Midnight Oil Brewery, 4 to 7 p.m. So come hang out if you're local. I do cover songs, some of my own stuff. I can officially say it now because we just did it and it's on social media, but Kruiser has got 2 singles we're coming out with soon. So be on the lookout for that. I have also Kruiser. We're playing in Los Angeles, California, not too far from Compton, at the Whiskey A Go Go. So that's going to be fantastic. We're opening for the Bullet Boys, so that will be a lot of fun. And yeah, check out like my song covers and my like guitar lessons and all that stuff. Like this is like a very small part of this channel.
It's a huge part actually.
So
Big part of
yeah, check out like my other stuff, some of my music, some of my song covers.
You might even hear your boy on the drums of one of them.
Yeah, you might, but you definitely won't. I don't think there's any. But check out the first Kruiser album to hear him play drums.
That's
So,
me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got to say. Kendrick Lamar, thank you for making the.
Kendrick Lamar, you did a dang good job.
Yeah, you did a damn good
buddy.
job. You made me a fan. So of one of your albums, very much. So cool, dude. All right, peace.